This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. You have likely heard this story about a whistleblower's complaint, ostensibly about Donald Trump's possible extortion scheme where he used $250 million worth of much-needed military aid to bribe the Ukrainian president to dig up dirt on Joe Biden and his son. Well, it's a wide-ranging and very complicated story, the gritty details of which are now just starting to come to light. I want to give you the down and dirty timeline, but first let me talk about what a whistleblower is within the framework of the U.S. intelligence community and its 17 different agencies. According to the Congressional Research Service, which is a part of the Library of Congress, which serves as shared staff to congressional committees and members of Congress, whistleblowing is the act of reporting waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption in a lawful manner to those who can correct the wrongdoing. Intelligence community whistleblowers are those employees or contractors working in any of the 17 elements of the intelligence community who reasonably believe there has been a violation of law, rule, or regulation, gross mismanagement, waste of resources, abuse of authority, or a substantial danger to public health and safety. Well, on August 12th, a whistleblower complaint was filed with the Intelligence Community's Inspector General, and after an official complaint is filed, there are certain requirements under law that must take place. Again, under the law. These aren't suggestions. The Intelligence Community Whistleblower Protection Act of 1998 requires the Inspector General to report within 14 days all credible complaints to the director of the CIA or to the head of the establishment, who in turn is required to report the complaint to the Congressional Intelligence Committees within 7 days. The Inspector General, Michael Atkinson, a dude who Donald Trump appointed to his job, so he's not some never-Trumper, well, he, after deeming the whistleblower complaint urgent and credible, he complied with the law and forwarded it on to the Director of National Intelligence, or the non-Senate confirmed acting director, Trump lackey Joe McGuire. And here is where the law was violated. You see, rather than following the law and forwarding the complaint to the Congressional Intelligence Committees within 7 days, Joe McGuire went to the Attorney General, Bill Barr, and the Justice Department to get some kind of legal cover to not follow the law. He didn't go to Jason Klitenik, who is the General Counsel for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. He ran, like a child, to the one place he knew would provide cover and concealment for Donald Trump and his crimes: Bill Barr. And after consulting with Trump's lapdog lawyer / attorney general, he broke the law. He broke the law by refusing to forward the complaints to the Congressional Intelligence Committees, again, as required by the Intelligence Community Whistleblower Protection Act of 1998. In a letter dated September 9th, Inspector General Atkinson wrote to the House Intelligence Committee saying, after receiving the complainant's disclosure, the IGIC was required within 14 calendar days to determine whether the information alleged by the complainant with respect to an urgent concern appeared credible. During that 14-day time period, the ICIG conducted a preliminary review of the disclosure. As a result of that preliminary review, I determined that the complainant's disclosure met the definition of an urgent concern, i.e. a serious or flagrant problem, abuse, violation of the law or executive order, or deficiency relating to the funding, administration, or operation of an intelligence activity within the responsibility and authority of the Director of National Intelligence involving classified information. I also determined that there were reasonable grounds to believe that information relating to the urgent concern appeared credible. So this Donald Trump appointed Inspector General believes this whistleblower's complaint to be urgent and credible. The letter continues and should fill you with seething rage for these corrupt scum. It is my understanding that the acting DNI has determined that he is not required to transmit my determination of a credible, urgent concern or any of the complainant's information to the Congressional Intelligence Committees because the allegations do not meet the definition of an urgent concern under the statute and has not made the transmission as of today's date. And if what is being reported is, in fact, what this whistleblower's complaint is about, there is no way that it doesn't meet the definition of an urgent concern. This is alarming. In fact, so alarming that Atkinson included in his letter to Congress this line: "The acting DNI's treatment of the complainant's alleged urgent concern does not appear to be consistent with past practice." Not consistent with past practice is an unnecessarily nice way of saying the acting Director of National Intelligence is breaking the law. Well, about a week later, after the acting DNI went unprofessionally radio silent, giving no guidance to the Inspector General or to the whistleblower, Atkinson wrote another letter to Congress, this time saying that he disagrees with Bill Barr's take on the matter, and the acting DNI stating in a letter sent on today's date to DOJ, a copy of which I provided to the acting DNI, I outlined my reasons for disagreeing with the DOJ's analysis of the facts presented in this case and the conclusions reached regarding the same. I set forth the reasons for my concluding that the subject matter involved in the complainant's disclosure not only falls within the DNI's jurisdiction, but relates to one of the most significant and important of the DNI's responsibilities to the American people. Because of the disagreement that exists between myself, DOJ, and the acting DNI, I have requested authorization from the acting DNI to disclose, at the very least, the general subject matter of the complainant's allegations to the Congressional Intelligence Committees. To date, however, I have not been authorized to disclose even that basic information to you, in addition to the important information provided by the complainant that is also being kept from the Congressional Intelligence Committees. So these assholes are stonewalling and protecting this traitor masquerading as a president. And listen, if you ever find yourself in the unenviable position of protecting a traitor, don't kid yourself. You're also a traitor. Because this is the behavior these un-American servile to Trump cowards are covering up for. This is what is being reported as the complaint from this whistleblower. It is shockingly corrupt and unsurprisingly on brand for Donald Trump. According to the conservative Wall Street Journal, President Trump, in a July phone call, repeatedly pressured the president of Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden's son, according to people familiar with the matter, urging Zelensky about 8 times to work with Rudy Giuliani on a probe that could hamper Mr. Trump's potential 2020 opponent. He told him he should work with Mr. Giuliani on Biden and that the people in Washington wanted to know if his lawyer's assertion that Mr. Biden acted improperly as vice president were true, one of the people said. And lest anybody make the absurd argument that Rudy Giuliani wouldn't be in the business of trying to pressure officials in Ukraine to dig up dirt on Joe Biden and his son, here he is the other night denying that he did it and then seconds later admitting to it.
Did you ask the Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden?
No, actually I didn't. I asked the Ukraine to investigate the allegations that there was interference in the election of 2016 by the Ukrainians for the benefit of Hillary Clinton, for which there already is a court finding.
You never asked anything about Hunter Biden. You never asked anything about Joe Biden.
The only thing I asked about Joe Biden is to get to the bottom of how it was that Lutsenko, who was appointed, dismissed the case against Antac.
So you did ask Ukraine to look into Joe Biden?
Of course I did.
You just said you didn't.
Idiots. Every last one of these patriot clowns. And Donald Trump has denied all of this until yesterday, when he clumsily admitted that Joe Biden and his son were most assuredly a topic of conversation with the Ukrainian president.
We had a great conversation. The conversation I had was largely congratulatory. was largely corruption, all of the corruption taking place, was largely the fact that we don't want our people, like Vice President Biden and his son, creating to the corruption already in the Ukraine. And Ukraine's got...
It was largely congratulatory, largely corruption, all of the corruption taking place. It was largely the fact that we don't want our people, like Vice President Biden and his son, creating to the corruption already in the Ukraine and Ukraine. Got it. Best words. Big brain. Stable genius. Oh, and unabashed liar. Let's not forget that one. And the other thing he said, which falls into the category of you're trying way too hard, bro, is when over and over and over again, he said that the call was a perfect call.
The conversation, by the way, was absolutely perfect. It was a beautiful, warm, nice conversation. Now, I will say this. I said absolutely nothing wrong. It was perfect. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. That call was a great call. It was a perfect call. A perfect call. What? Now me, on the other hand, my conversation with the president, the new president of Ukraine, was perfect. It was a perfect conversation. But just so you understand, the conversation I had with the president of Ukraine was absolutely perfect. But the conversation I had with the president of Ukraine was absolutely a 10. It was perfect.
Imagine being so dumb that you think that guy is smart. Anyway, what happens now is yet to be seen. Yet, rest assured, though, the truth will come out. The only thing that is truly in question here is, what are Democrats in the House going to do about this? With Nancy Pelosi, who seems inexplicably impeachment averse, we may have to go shopping for a new speaker before we do a new president. Only time will tell, though.